In this instant, Robert Oppenheimer recalls a passage from a sacred book of the Hindu.
Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds.
The unprovoked attack by Japan on Sunday, a state of war has existed between the United States and the Japanese Empire.
Hello, friends. Welcome back to Money, Myths, and Legends. Today, we're going to discuss an event that changed the world forever, the atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki in 1945. This is a story of immense destruction, profound ethical questions, and a significant turning point in history. So, let's dive right in. It's August 1945. World War II is in its final stages. The Allies, led by the United States, are fighting fiercely against Japan. Despite heavy losses, Japan refuses to surrender. President Harry Truman faces a tough decision. Should the U.S. use a new, devastating weapon, the atomic bomb, to force Japan's surrender and end the war swiftly? But first, let's understand the background. The journey to the atomic bomb began in the early 20th century, when scientists discovered nuclear fission. This breakthrough eventually led to the Manhattan Project, a top-secret U.S. program to develop an atomic bomb, headed by General Leslie Groves and scientist J. Robert Oppenheimer. By July 1945, the first successful test of an atomic bomb, named Trinity, took place in Now, Hiroshima was chosen as the first target. Why? Hiroshima was a major military and industrial hub. On August 6, 1945, at 8:15 a.m., the B-29 bomber Enola Gay, piloted by Colonel Paul Tibbets, dropped an atomic bomb named Little Boy over the city. The bomb exploded 1,100 feet above Hiroshima, unleashing an explosion equivalent to 15,000 tons of TNT. The immediate impact was catastrophic. A blinding flash, followed by a massive blast wave, flattened buildings within a 2-mile radius. An estimated 80,000 people died instantly. The aftermath was horrific. Fires raged across the city, and survivors faced severe burns and radiation sickness. The city was in ruins. People with severe burns wandered the streets, and many died in the following days and weeks. The long-term effects included an increase in cancer rates and genetic mutations due to radiation exposure. Despite this devastation, Japan did not surrender. 3 days later, on August 9, 1945, a second atomic bomb, codenamed Fat Man, was dropped on Nagasaki. Nagasaki wasn't the original target, Kokura was. But due to bad weather over Kokura, the B-29 bomber Boxcar, piloted by Major Charles Sweeney, diverted to Nagasaki. At 11:02 a.m., Fat Man exploded over Nagasaki with a force of 21,000 tons of TNT. The city's hilly terrain contained some of the blast, but the destruction was still extensive. Approximately 40,000 people died instantly, and by the end of the year, the death toll had risen to around 70,000 due to injuries and radiation effects. The sheer destruction and loss of life from these two bombings forced Japan to reconsider. On August 15, 1945, Emperor Hirohito announced Japan's unconditional surrender, marking the end of World War II. The official surrender ceremony took place on September 2, 1945, aboard the USS Missouri in Tokyo Bay. But the story doesn't end there. The bombings left a profound legacy. Both Hiroshima and Nagasaki faced enormous challenges in recovery and rebuilding. The survivors, known as hibakusha, suffered from long-term health effects and discrimination due to misunderstandings about radiation sickness. However, they also played a crucial role in advocating for peace and nuclear disarmament. The use of atomic bombs had significant geopolitical ramifications. It demonstrated the destructive power of nuclear weapons, leading to an arms race between the United States and the Soviet Union. The Cold War era saw both superpowers amassing massive nuclear arsenals, creating a precarious balance of power. The ethical and moral implications of the atomic bombings have been the subject of intense debate. Some argue that the bombings were necessary to end the war quickly and save lives by avoiding a prolonged invasion of Japan. However, critics contend that the bombings were inhumane, causing disproportionate suffering to civilians. They argue that Japan was already on the brink of surrender, and that other means could have been used to compel surrender without resorting to nuclear weapons. Today, Hiroshima and Nagasaki stand as symbols of peace and resilience. Both cities have been rebuilt and now host thriving communities. They also serve as centers for peace and nuclear disarmament advocacy. Hiroshima's Peace Memorial Park and Nagasaki's Peace Park attract visitors from around the world, educating them about the bombing's impact and promoting a message of peace. The bombings galvanized a global movement for nuclear disarmament. Survivors, activists, scientists, and political leaders have called for the abolition of nuclear weapons. Treaties like the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, NPT, and initiatives like the International Campaign to Abolish Nuclear Weapons, ICAN, aim to prevent the spread of nuclear weapons and achieve a world free of them. In 2017, ICAN was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize for its efforts to highlight the catastrophic humanitarian consequences of nuclear weapons and for its role in the adoption of the Treaty on the Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons. This treaty represents a significant step towards global nuclear disarmament, although its effectiveness depends on the commitment of nuclear-armed states to reduce and eliminate their arsenals.